Right, welcome back to DR Sports. We'll try again, shall we? Myself, AGT, to my right, wearing a resplendent Kaiser Chiefs jersey. I predict a riot. It's Matthijs.
How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. How are you?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Laurie? On my left?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear us at home? Give us a thumbs up in the chat
With
right
the
now.
I can see him more than I can hear him.
I know it's a very bright.
I do like it.
Traffic
though,
cone
man. I
out
do like
here.
it.
Yeah.
I do like it. You'll
No, it's
definitely attract attention, shall we say?
Do you think so?
with that. Yeah.
I like the badge. I just think it's all. I think everything's just
That's
very
nice. Good
well
to have
put
you back
together.
from South
Very
Africa
cool.
again.
Thank you.
Right, you're saying yes in the chat. I'm actually seeing people saying some say AGT is still speaking to us. AGT sounds much better muted. Fantastic. Big up to you guys for all the support as always. Smash that like button, get your comments in, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We've got loads to talk about today, including Trent's debut, Arnold, Thomas Partey, Rashford to Newcastle, Isak to Liverpool. And I've been having a little chat with Matty Renton this morning. He's given me the green light. Nico Williams to Barcelona, the Premier League fixtures, who's got the hardest run. And we're going to be running through the Young Player of the Year according to the PFA. Right, should we jump into the show? Because we've lost a bit of time, haven't we? Whose fault was it, do you reckon?
I don't know.
If you were to blame someone, who would it be for this?
You know what? I'm not going to throw anyone under
You're
the
not
bus.
gonna do it?
I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it
why.
level.
I wonder why. Yeah, I wonder why. But listen, we are back now. We are very apologetic for the issues that we had there. But listen, we're back. Rejoice, right? Smash that like button. First and foremost, we must start with, and you saw him on the thumbnail there, Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I thought you guys were sick of talking about him.
Happy he's not my player anymore. I'm just analysing his performance from Club World Cup, which I was the host of the stream that we did
Analysing?
last night.
Oh, so you even
Analysing.
watched it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I watched it, mate, with Raul, which was tough. But hey-ho, we got through it in the end. So, as we know, Trent was, it was a very mixed night, to put it lightly. He said after, it's an amazing day to make my debut for Real Madrid. Almost what every player dreams of. Incredible. I felt the support from the minute I signed for the club. The fan base is truly global all over the world. Well, Liverpool's isn't. So
You're still hurting it.
No,
well,
it's so
listen,
salty.
You really, yeah, man.
Wow.
Even for a man of your sensitivity, of which you are known, by the way, he's known for that. And I say that with respect.
Okay.
But Alex is one of the more sensitive people. Nice guy,
Don't
but
say
very
that.
sensitive.
Don't
No,
say
but
that to the
seriously,
people.
this one really hurts you.
It's really
bro.
digging in
It
deep,
really
isn't it?
does.
Yeah,
man.
no, it's
You
all
know what I mean?
good.
Long-term relationship, you're out
I
of
could
here?
fire a few shots back, but you know what? I don't want to stoop down to your level, so we'll just keep it moving. But the quotes from Xabi Alonso after the game talked about being at the level in terms of discipline, fitness, improving. They weren't all flowers and sunshine,
No.
those quotes. So talk us through the game. I mean, we watched it together with Raul last night. He lost the most duels, I think the most unsuccessful passes as well. Listen, it is only his debut. But at the same time, that's against a team from the Saudi Pro League who actually, I think, played
They've
quite
got
well.
a good
They-
team.
Triangles, they were knocking it
Yeah.
about, and Zage's going to do well, I think. But what did you make of Trent's performance last night?
I don't know, like, it's difficult. I don't want to be dramatic over one game and the debut. Maybe there's a lot playing on him in his mind in terms of this is my Real Madrid debut. He's overthinking things. I think he's going to have to obviously acclimatise to the fact that he's playing with different forwards. Some of the passes and some of the crosses I saw him hitting felt like they were for Liverpool players. And I was like, you got a different team around you now. You're going to have to switch it up a little bit and play to their strengths as much as your own. Obviously, defensively, it wasn't good for him down that side. I saw him getting ripped up a couple of times. His positioning. I mean, these are things in Trent's games that has always been off. I think he's going to have exactly the same strengths at Real Madrid and exactly the same weaknesses. Going to Real Madrid is not going to make him a better defender. The heat is not going to make him a better defender. You know what I mean? He was already a bit sluggish on the turn when it come back to tracking your runners and whatnot.
Not many
But-
sprints at all.
Yeah, but I think it's his first game. Maybe there's some nerves there. I like to judge after 5 games in terms of good form and bad form. So I'm not really going to overreact to one game. But I'm more actually complimentary of Al Hilal. I thought their performance was really good. Played great football. Obviously, Inzaghi's there now. Lovely little triangles, like you said, bopping it about. It's good. It's good to see because obviously this tournament, in the first couple of games, get a little bit of criticism. But it's good for people to see that there's quality around the world. And when they come up against some of our European heavyweights, they can actually go toe to toe. The South American teams have been doing that for years in this tournament. Now we got the Saudi teams doing it as well. It's good to see. So yeah, it was a decent game. It was a good game.
Yeah, it was a good game to watch. We actually
was.
were impressed with Al Hilal as well, considering that pretty much no one gave them a chance beforehand. On Trent though, he's obviously, and this, listen, I take my Liverpool hat off. When you go to a new club, you have to impress the manager. You have to work almost twice as hard as the already established players there. There's a lot of work to do for Trent, and we saw maybe the start journey of that last night. Obviously got substituted after 64 minutes, but would it be fair to say that maybe some of the things that he was almost allowed to get away with at Liverpool, i.e. the not sprinting back, not breaking your neck to help your defence, you know, liability in terms of being so high up the pitch and not really having the energy to get back, we almost accepted it, and I for one did blindly defend him in a lot of cases because I didn't want to jump on the criticism of the defending, but you can't get away with that at Real Madrid. And that's not me having a go. You will get replaced instantly if you don't do the hard yards.
I mean, first and foremost, it was, let's be honest, it was an underwhelming performance. But in fairness to Trent, there were a number of players.
There were. He's not the only one.
That played yesterday for Madrid that were underwhelming. I mean, I think it was about 60-odd minutes into the game. Me and you were saying, is Bellingham playing? We were still, we didn't know whether he was still, because he'd literally done nothing. Likewise, Vinny Jr. There was a few of them. So
Yeah.
I guess him making his debut, he was always going to get special attention. So the microscope was on him. To be fair to him, also he did play a big part in the goal that Real Madrid got. He was the one that started off that move, if you remember. But yeah, it was a bit of an underwhelming performance. It is going to take time for him to adjust to Real Madrid's style of play. But I would say also as well, I was a little bit surprised the manager dug him out like that, man. I didn't think,
You can't get away with anything at Madrid. The standards are so high that if you are not pulling your weight, whether your name's Trent, whether your name's Vinny Jr., you're coming off.
Yeah, that's fine. But like I said, there were a number of players in that team
right.
yesterday that underperformed. And from what I'm seeing, the criticism appears to be reserved for Trent. For me, that's not a good look. You know, you've made your debut and the manager's come in and he's digging you out straight away. Now, maybe there is method to the madness. Maybe he, like you said, he's saying, look, these are our standards. You dip below, I'm going to call you out. But
He's new himself.
yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see what standard they are at this season. I just think with Trent, his passing ability is what he's known for, and that doesn't leave you. It doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter where you are in your career. Even when we see Pirlo's and Rooney's at Soccer Aid, their passing ability is still there. So for me, this is very similar to the Mbappe situation, which people are going to be on his case early doors. Might take a couple of months to get himself sorted, but he's still a top player. Like he didn't do what he did in the Premier League because he wasn't a top player. So shining a light on all these deficiencies that everybody outside of Liverpool fans have been saying for years. He can't defend. He can't do this. There's no point talking about it now. It's not going to change. But what will continue to happen is on the ball, he's going to find players.
And the other thing I'm saying that as well, you are right. And the other thing I would say, and I did mention it yesterday on the watch along, is that given the nature of the players, some of the passes that he attempts, most fullbacks especially are not going to even try that. And there were a couple that he did yesterday that just didn't come off, just by a fraction. Had they come off, we could be talking about a very different debut. So you do have to cut in a little bit of slack for that as well. He's going to try things that your normal fullback's not going to try.
And that's why he was so successful at Liverpool. I mean, he might try 50 passes in a game. He might lose possession in 10 of those, but the one that he does get right wins Liverpool the game.
Exactly,
that's why he was so special. But I wanted to take our minds back to the 23rd of May when Arne Slot publicly criticised him. He said he's going to leave anyway, so why not? It would be the first gift I can give Xabi Alonso. But I wasn't completely happy with every single minute he was on the training ground. Wow. In my opinion, there were certain moments he could do more, to put it mildly. I told him he's a much better defender than people think, but you don't show it all the time. And then we fast forward on a month, and Xabi Alonso, the direct quotes are, Trent's a very talented player, but at this level, talent alone isn't enough. He needs to work harder physically and be more consistent, especially defensively. He has to meet the standards set for fitness, discipline, and effort.
If they wanted a good defensive right back, they should not have signed him.
Agree.
Because he is an average defender, and that's me putting it politely. When you compare him to even Reece James, when you compare him to obviously Wan-Bissakas, etc. He's just not up there, and he won't be. So they can put this pressure on him defensively if they want to. It's not going to change anything. His positioning is average. We've seen that for years now. So I don't know. I find it weird that he's zoning in on his defensive game. I would have thought Real Madrid would have known that he's not good defensively. Obviously, this was a shambles, but he's not going to be great defensively. You got to cover up for that. You got to Valverde. You got to get your centre back in wide areas like you did with Konate.
Although to be fair to Alonso, he was bought before he rocked up there.
Well,
So
Well,
maybe
he would have had a say.
there should have
He
been
would have
some
signed it
planning
off.
and some
He
foresight
would have
for
signed it off.
that, for sure. He absolutely.
But when you
has to have
talk,
signed it off.
when Alonso
He would have signed it
mentions-
off, but I guess what I'm saying is, would it have been his first choice? In
Maybe
terms
not.
Of
Well, his first choice that he had for the last few years is at Liverpool now.
Frimpong, yeah.
But when you see him talking about fitness, listen, I know it's the first game, or is it the last game of last season, or is it the first game of this season? I actually don't know what it is. But when you're talking about fitness, and Liverpool fans have seen him have kind of almost that caught out moment where you aren't breaking your neck to get back like a Robertson would. Any circumstances, the blinkers go on, put your head down and just sprint. We've never seen that. And again, I'm not having a go. I'm just telling you, as someone who has watched him in person for the last 8 years, so in such a detailed way, that isn't his game. So when they talk about fitness and sprinting back, he's never done that.
I'll tell you what was ironic as well about those comments from the manager, and this is something that, again, we referenced yesterday, is that I find it ironic that the manager said that about Trent going to have to train harder, do this and that, when it was Trent a few days before, and I was quite critical of Trent of this, when he had sort of made what appeared to be, anyway, subliminal disses by saying, you know, when players rock up at a new club, oh, this is great, the training here is different, it's special, oh. And then after the game, the manager's saying, look, this man's going to have to train harder because there's standards. I'm like,
That's fallen on his face, that quote.
Yeah, man, that's like... And I don't like that. I don't know how Matisse feels. One of the things, I don't like it. Even Declan Rice, he fell foul of that last season. He did it inadvertently. But if you rock up at a new club and then you start waxing lyrical about how great the new club is and how compared to the old one, even if you don't mean any real malice... To the fans like Alex and Liverpool fans, they're sitting there thinking, yeah, man, that's disrespect.
Well, you're saying you're in a new relationship, don't talk about your previous.
Exactly. You're in a new
out of respect.
relationship. Stop talking about how how I feel now is so much different to how I used to feel, because obviously you're going to upset a lot
And
of
also,
people.
we're in the honeymoon period, so we can't really take you seriously anyway. Settle yourself down.
Exactly.
Find property first. You know what I mean? Settle yourself down, learn. He's already learned the language, hasn't he?
Done that already, mate.
But
Have
give
some
it 6
churros.
months. Give it 6 months. See if
some
that shine's
churros.
still there. Then we'll talk. You know what I mean? Right now
So
you got
as
butterflies in
a
your stomach.
start for Trent, I don't think it could have got much worse. You've dropped a stinker. The manager's saying, you know what I mean, you're not meeting the standards, you have to train harder.
And the last manager said that.
And
about
then
him
they've
as
got
well.
the last manager weighing in, and we've got all the Liverpool fans from around the world.
But this is the responsibility and the level of pressure that you get when you play for Real Madrid. And he knows that. He doesn't need anyone to tell him how global that club is. But every single touch, every single pass, every single header, every single piece of positional work, every single sprint is going to be magnified a million times.
That's what he signed up for.
That's what he signed up for, bro. So, you know,
Maybe it
Raul's
will
here
make
at-
him a better player.
Maybe.
Because
time will tell.
he knows at Liverpool he would have been.
That's what I said.
Chaperoned. He would have been looked after. Yeah.
As the local lad, he was getting away with
100%.
and he would still start the next
And maybe
game.
that would make him more complacent in the latter part of his career. So there's
Yeah.
two ways this can go. Maybe that pressure and that lack of undenying love and connection to the Real Madrid fans to him, and they're just going to treat him as any other Galactico, any other player. You need to prove yourself here. You need to deliver for us. Maybe that's going to actually push him on to be a better player.
You know what's going to happen
so-
now? You know what needs to happen now? His best mate Bellingham is going to have to put his arm around him and say, look. No, seriously, he's going to have to say, look, man, these are the standards we operate at. You see over here, bro, it's even a level up from Liverpool. Any little thing you do is magnified. And listen, I'm sure he knew that before going in, but after last night, he will know for absolute sure. You know what I mean?
And what did Raul tell us last night about Real Madrid fans?
Yeah,
What do you say?
No patience.
no patience.
Oh,
Don't-
obviously, yeah.
I mean, they were calling for Ancelotti's head. And this is the great Carlo Ancelotti, who has been incredible for Madrid. But there is no patience. And already...
Raul was doing it last night. He
know.
was saying, oh, this is nothing, this is nothing. He was talking about Rodrigo. I said, he basically said he don't rate
Yeah,
Rodrigo. He
basically
said,
saying
good player,
he's shit.
but
But look
he
what
can
they've
go.
seen.
Nothing.
Like look at the
Yeah,
players
the
they've had.
standards.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what Alex is saying, that when you rock up at a club like that, it's all very well saying I'm at Madrid and new lifestyle, money and glamour and winning trophies, but there's a certain standard. If you don't meet it, brutal, ruthless.
Yeah, it's ruthless. And even some tweets from Real Madrid fans last night asking, is he even a better defender than Carvajal? Is he a better defender than Vasquez, who have been almost makeshift right? Not Carvajal, but certainly Vasquez has been a makeshift right back. And I think, and again, what I don't want to do is write him off after one game.
Of course, you wouldn't do that, would you?
But listen, he's still got so much time to prove the world who he is, and I think he eventually will. But when, after your first hour of being in that white shirt, you've got Madrid fans online, and again, because of the size of the club, this is always going to happen. You make one bad pass, they want you out. That's the lack of patience that they have. But people were saying, like, what have we actually bought here? Like, do we need this? Yes, he, on a sixpence, in the dying moments of the game, can win you the game, and he will do that for Real Madrid. But 0 tackles, 1 duel won, 12 times possession lost, and 1.5 accurate crosses.
Is this what we're doing? Statistics on the screens.
On the
screens. You lot are foul. Trent, you better put in some performances soon, because these Liverpool fans are going to be onto you all season. This is crazy.
Do you think the manager would have been better served taking the opposite approach and saying, look,
bringing him on last 20?
Yeah, or just even at, in the post-match comments, saying words to the effect that, listen, it's his first game. It takes time to adjust here.
Yeah, I think that's the route I would have taken personally. But
instead, the manager said, what he said there after the first game is what some managers would say after the fifth, sixth game when a player's not, where they say, look, you need to step up. He's saying that after the first 60 minutes.
Yeah, 64 minutes.
But
crazy.
To take it to Xabi Alonso, he's a young manager. So I think it's a massive job. Let's not forget. I think we've just kind of almost naturally put him, in there because of he's played for the club. He's had a great unbeaten season at Bayer Leverkusen, followed up with a very stable season afterwards. But this is still a massive job for Xabi Alonso. It's a massive job for any manager in the world. When Jose Mourinho goes there, when Carlo Ancelotti goes there, it's a massive job and it weighs heavy. So let alone for a young manager who, is still in the early part of his managerial career, he also is probably trying to play up to the Real Madrid situation.
Yeah,
the fans, trying to show that he's in control, the standards, set the tempo early. So there's so much at play. It's not even for me just to do with Trent. It's actually the manager as well and what he feels going into this job and the pressure he's under to get the La Liga back from Barcelona. They didn't have a great season last year. Champions League, La Liga,
really
so there's a lot of pressure.
Trophyless.
Right, we'll move on. Super chat time. Malongi says, it's the kit Matisse is wearing is the reason why we were late today. Matisse was on time.
Yes.
I'll stick up for him. Matisse
You know what
was
that kit reminds me of? Do you watch cricket?
No.
Oh, okay. In the IPL, they have the IPL that plays. It looks like one of the tops I've seen in the IPL.
I'll be honest. I literally just picked
it. No, I
because
do
it
like
looks
it.
nice. And now, Kaiser Chief fans, I'm with you. But
is it like the Vitesse kit as well? That club
I
that you always loan your players.
I can't remember what Vitesse
it looks
kit
like
because we ain't.
It looks
really
like Hull City
Oh,
recruited some guy from America with a bit of swag to design a top.
Giovanni,
and they've come up with that.
Yeah,
Giovanni, he was a baller, that Brazilian.
Yeah, it's kind of like the.
It's a swagged out Hull City kit.
a little bit like the Vitesse, but it's yellow instead of kind of orange. But yeah, big up Vitesse. Chelsea's feeder club at one point.
Not anymore. Yep.
Big up Matisse and the Big Six boys for their Super Sport video. Legends. You guys absolutely deserve all the great things that are coming your way, says Rajesh. And they do. Groundbreaking. Needle moving.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
Brilliant.
Man. JQ says, realistically, Isak to Liverpool is low chance, but it's not impossible. The best part is we can easily raise funds without FSG spending their own cash to get him. Agreed. Rob and Matisse can finally get off the Trent train now, says Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah, I've moved on.
So no more Hala Madrid?
No, I've turned my attentions to Saliba.
Nice. I'll back you on that one.
And Konate.
No, just Saliba, I think.
Your one seems like it'll be easier to do because of his contract. You better get that signed up.
Yeah. No, we've got to move on. Honestly, there's super chats coming in. I want to hear nothing from Liverpool fans. You call him the best right back in the world. Don't switch up now, says Ty. Big up Ty.
He's still a good player, though. I mean, we shouldn't write him off after one game.
Liverpool fans have never been more like indulgent in the Reece James propaganda now. It's good to see. We got allies now.
But to go back to Trent, I do think in the balance of probabilities, I do think that he will. He's a quality player, man. He is. Even a couple of the passes he attempted yesterday that just quite didn't go his way, but you can see him having a big career at Real
Oh,
Madrid.
listen, he will. And we're doing it's half banter, half serious. It was a poor 64 minutes,
was.
but listen, it is what it is. Lads, be serious. This is a post-season tournament. You can't chat about Trent. This is silly. Let him have his pre-season and judge him by Xmas. I think, by Christmas we should see a lot more, obviously. Barca destroyed Madrid 4 times last season, scored 16 goals, won the domestic treble. Now they're signing Nico Juan Garcia. Can Real Madrid compete with Barcelona? Well, before Europe, before anything, you've got to win your domestic league and you've got to get over the line against Barcelona, against Atletico Madrid. And they've got a lot of work to do because, yes, you can have all the Galacticos in the world that you want, but your fiercest, most deadly rivals smacked you up and they scored 16 goals against you. So now it's time to turn the tables.
You know what I noticed yesterday watching Madrid, and listen, I say this with a bit of caution because it was very hot out there. But one of the first things I noticed is how sluggish and they didn't look very energetic, man. And I've seen that when we played them as well. We were able to just like blitz them, you know what I mean? We look sharper, we look more hungrier. And I saw that last night with Al Hilal. They look physically superior to Madrid.
They're definitely more used to the heat.
Well, yeah, I'm going to allow for that. So I'm going to cut them some slack. But we said that, didn't we, on the stream? We said, look, Al Hilal came out the traps, boom.
When you go through that team, it's not the most athletic team.
No.
You know what I mean? Obviously, Valverde, you'd probably pencil as one of the guys, but Trent, Mbappe, off the ball, Vinny, like they're not.
Even Rodrigo, who Arsenal are
they're not trying
pursuing, he flitted in
He
out the game.
he usually works quite hard, Rodrigo.
I actually saw him do Trent's dirty work a couple of times,
Yeah.
tracking back when Trent was really high up. So he put a shift in. But I understand what you mean in terms of, some aging players, obviously the old guard are almost on their way out.
Okay, so if you compare what we saw last night, and I know it's only the first game, and I know it was hot, but it was also hot when PSG played. And look,
we mustn't forget
the
it was
energy that they were
hot for both
emitting.
teams.
But Enrique is many years down the line.
Different.
He's got that team
different
playing
levels.
exactly how he wants them to play. So
Alonso's got a big job.
yeah.
Absolutely. Steve says, Zubamendi, here we go, Fabrizio. There was a tweet that came through from Fabrizio, basically confirming his move to Arsenal. Let's just, can you get that up, Matisse, just whilst I'm going through the rest of the Superchats? Yeah, big ups to Steve for that one. The Xabi quotes on Trent, fact check it. We'll get a fact check done on that. Hassan LFC says that Trent stinker and hook performance was sensational. I'm literally shaking thinking about the next one. AGT, stop being humble and cook that rat. Clara Bitsy says, which phase is the sound guy in? It's a very good question. What phase do you think Hassan is in?
Listen, man, I've got nothing but love for Hassan.
No, that's not what you were saying before.
No.
But
Big
yeah,
up Hassan.
I'd say like
Big up LL
he's
Sports
probably
TV
in his
as well.
fifth phase. I'd say Has been
And-
around for a while. But he's blaming the heat, so
Wow.
big up to him.
He's like the train service, isn't it?
Yeah.
Blaming the heat.
Oh, it's too hot. We'll have delays. Why?
Why?
Oh, it's too cold. We'll have delays.
What?
It's too windy. It's too snowy.
It's not making
Sort your
sense.
shit out. Yeah. Arsenal to sign 0 strikers. There we land, says Mamo as well. And that brings us nicely into Arsenal. A Thomas Partey update for you. Laurie, negotiations between Arsenal and Real Madrid. Sorry, I'll start that again. Negotiations between Arsenal and Thomas Partey over a new deal are not advancing. No agreement so far, and now concrete chances to part ways in the upcoming days. We know his contract has run out, or will be running out in the 1st of July maybe. Thomas would be available as a free agent. As an Arsenal fan, how does this one end? Because have we gone past the chance of him actually putting pen to paper for Arsenal now? Does it look very likely that he will leave?
I don't think he'll leave, but it's a disappointing, I was going to say development, but it's not development, is it? It's a lack of development. But listen, I hope Thomas Partey stays. He had a very good season last season. A season, by the way, in which not only did he play really well in midfield, he was called upon to play several times at right back and did so very well. So you could argue in terms of his form at Arsenal, last season was his best. Certainly up there anyway. We want him to stay. But I think the issue appears to be over the length of the deal that he's been offered. Like, I think he wanted at least 2 years. The club are only prepared to offer him 1. I think, in short, if the club were to screw this one up and let Partey go, I think that would be a serious error or lack of judgment on the club's behalf, because we need Partey.
Where could he go, Matisse? You look at some other Premier League teams that could potentially be interested in him. It looks like he's not going to sign this new deal. What do you think happens?
Could go to the Italian league. I think he's obviously had a few injuries over his career. I think the Italian league is good at bringing longevity to people's careers as well. He's obviously at that age now. He's other side of 30. I'd like to see him probably go there. I don't know. I think Arsenal is confusing because 1 minute Rice needs to play the 6 and they need to get a more creative or more attack-minded left-sided 8. Then Zubamendi's coming in and you'd assume he'll play the 6 and maybe Rice will play the 8. So I don't really understand where Partey's going to get the game time.
No, but in any event,
I know maybe
Jorginho.
for depth. Yeah, Jorginho's obviously
So,
obviously
you know what I mean?
lost
We
as well.
need another backup.
Yeah, I don't...
And Partey's there, Premier League tested and proven. He's coming off his best season. Okay, the age, people, he's the other side of 30. I think all that is overrated. Like, you know what I mean?
It's not an issue for him to be backup, but does he want to be a backup? Or does he mind being a
Well,
backup?
I'm not so
Zubamendi's
sure.
got to
I mean,
start
obviously,
now.
we'll never know that. But
Yeah.
what I did hear is that there was... they were failing to establish common ground because of the length of the contract. What we were being led to believe as fans is that he wanted a 2-year deal or more. The club were only prepared to offer him 1. Now, in the meantime, if you get other clubs, which is what has happened, by the way, come in and said, oh, right, Partey looks a bit unsettled. Here, what? How about you come in? And that strengthens his negotiation position with the club. And I think that's what we're seeing.
I don't think they should give him a 2-year deal. I think a 1-year deal
I
is
think
fair.
he deserves it.
I don't know. I think you have to foresee potential drop off, and I do think that a year is fair, because if he drops off, you don't want him on another year. You know, sitting there. You want
2 years is not going
move
to
him on. I don't know.
At that time, it will be 34 if you give him a 2-year deal.
It depends on his wages for me.
It depends on whether he's earned it or not. And I think, I mean, you could argue that preceding last season, the injury record wasn't very good. But last season, he was outstanding. Some people say he was our best player last season. And certainly that midfield, with him and Rice there, they complement each other well. Any Arsenal fan will tell you that them two together in midfield was a very good partnership. So, you know.
Yeah, he started off at Leganes and then went to Atletico Madrid. Went on loan to Mallorca, did well. He actually scores quite a few goals as well. Went to Almeria, scored 4 goals there, and now is at Arsenal and 9 goals in 130 league appearances. So Thomas Partey, Arsenal fans, does he still have a place in the starting lineup or on the bench for Arsenal next season? And if he is going to go for free, where is he going to end up? Let us know in the chat, please. Next up, Newcastle, Marcus Rashford. Newcastle would like to sign the England forward on loan, but United would prefer offloading the 27-year-old on a permanent basis. It would give them more depth. We've already seen them being linked to the Jack Grealishes and the Mbemos. They're looking for a winger to almost support Harvey Barnes, Gordon, Jacob Murphy, and obviously a couple others. Can you see that one happening?
I think United would be reluctant to let him go to Newcastle. I think United would prefer Rashford to go, but to go to a club abroad. I mean, I know there's big disparity between where they finished in the league positions, but normally Newcastle and United are, close proximity to each other.
That's where they're trying to get back to.
So to allow him to go there, and because you saw Rashford was quite successful at Villa. He goes to Newcastle, arguably better team, then, you know what I mean? I think he could do stuff.
Yeah.
That could be a major embarrassment for United. Do they want that on their watch, seeing him week in, week out, playing, doing stuff?
I feel like Rashford's environment change is going to make him better anyway. I've said that for years. I feel like Villa, with Emery and the way he uses his attackers, he's always getting the best out of them. Newcastle, the way that their fan base is, the way they'll kind of gather around him and kind of give him that support. His Man United career is done. So I think Man United kind of have to get out of their heads, what if he does this elsewhere? He's not going to do it at your club. It's not going to happen. Especially with the new system. He doesn't fit in. He's not a striker. and he's not going to play in the twin tens. So you have to start thinking about, okay, you got Amad Diallo, you got Cunha, you're going for Mbeumo, you got to move on. And beggars can't be choosers. The wage that he's on, and we know that wage is crazy high. I don't know if they're going to have to kind of supplement that. They're going to have to pay a part of that. Not many clubs are going to be able to afford him. So I don't think the scope of clubs is that wide. The net is that wide for them to cast and say, right, we're going to decide where you go. He's most likely going to want to stay in England. Unless it was, I think the Barcelona move is something he wanted. But Nico Williams is going there.
Yeah, there's no way he's going there.
Flank.
And they couldn't
PSG
afford him.
are not going to come for him. So you're looking at a very small group of clubs. It won't be Bayern Munich. He's not been on the list. That was the one club maybe you could look at because they need a left winger. They've been looking at Leao, Barcola. They seem to be getting rejected by Williams as well. Maybe that is something that if they come in for him, then that suits all parties. But outside of them, there's not many options. So
Saudi?
Nah, it's too early for that for him. He's going to want to be in the England squad for the World Cup, and he's not going to...
According to Ben Jacobs, he says, due to the World Cup coming next summer, Rashford wants to move to a club that he starts at. Rumours of Newcastle are unlikely due to them wanting to sign someone to play on the right-hand side. There is no indication that Aston Villa will do another deal. Listen, he did get a call up, didn't he? Back in November, I think it was, for England, or maybe the start of this year. And that was a bit of an eyebrow raiser. 2 goals, 2 assists in 10 games in the league for Aston Villa. Didn't really pull up any trees when he was there. But if there is a small sliver of a chance for him to get into that World Cup, he's got to be playing. And it's going to get to the point in the window where there's no real offers on the table. And you're almost going to just have to take what's there. I mean, we're talking now, June the 19th. The window closes September the 1st. If we get to the second half of August, you almost just got to go wherever at that point if you truly think you have a chance of the World Cup next summer.
Most likely it'll be a loan. I can see these deals going all the way to the last week, 2 weeks of the window.
I must say I'm somewhat surprised that there haven't been more apparent takers for him because he is, let's be honest, he's had his problems, but on his day he's a quality player.
Would you take him at Arsenal at your left wing because you need a left winger?
That is a very good question. I mean, you could do worse, put it that way. You could do a lot worse. Yeah. So, I think I probably would. I know I'm going to upset some Arsenal fans by saying that. It's a very unlikely fit. It's not going to happen. But I think in terms of sheer talent, yes, he would enhance. Would he enhance your team? Would he enhance your team?
No.
I feel like the top teams
wouldn't enhance my team. Absolutely not.
Who you got in up?
Prepared to
Lewis
take a
Diaz
gamble
and
on.
Cody Gakpo, 18 goals each in all comps last season.
That's true. Yeah.
The top teams are
he
not
would
prepared to
enhance
take the
that. I
gamble,
mean, be
think.
fighting out for a place with what's his name, Gabriel Martinelli.
Yeah.
So I would argue that he's at
similar
least
level.
on a par with him in terms of talent. I think it's the work ethic though with him and what comes with him though, isn't it?
It's weird because he's done some incredible things on a football pitch, but more importantly, off the football pitch. I saw a video the other day where a disabled fan maybe bumped into him in the street or something, and he actually promised to come back and go to his house. And he came. So as a person, like I've got so much time and respect for the things that he's done with the school kids' meals and all stuff like that, putting the governments to right. But then you see him, he's got a big bag of snus in his hand. He's got a watch on each hand. He's out on the yachts. I mean, people thought that would change when he went to Birmingham. I mean, he was still out, and if he goes to London, he's still going out. And I'm not saying for 1 second you shouldn't do that, but you almost have to read the room a little bit. And
in some ways,
accordingly.
London might be the worst place for
Exactly.
him to rock up doing that. Type
Being
of stuff.
tape every night.
But in terms of his ability as a player, he is a very talented player. If you can get someone like him motivated and playing well, that's a real asset. But him on loan, I mean, you saw what happened with us with Sterling last season. I don't see that Arsenal link. But Newcastle, I think. But then again, is he Eddie Howe's type of player? Eddie Howe's another one. He's got a certain type of profile of player, isn't he? I'm not sure if Rashford fits that.
I don't get that fit in terms of like the player. In terms of Newcastle's side, I get it for Rashford, but Newcastle's side, they probably, like you said, they probably need someone off the right.
You'll probably end up somewhere like Galatasaray or something like that.
They need someone off the right.
Can they afford his wages? Probably they could.
I'm sure. But at the same time, if he has got any inkling or want to play in that World Cup next year, you might have to take a cut, a pay cut. You might have to drop your ego a little bit and go to another league. I mean, listen.
Are players like him and Sancho willing to take pay cuts, though? That's
probably
the thing.
not, because of the lifestyle that they lead. Like, can they afford to have their money halved? I'm not too sure.
That's disappointing, though, isn't it? I mean, we were saying yesterday, innit? I mean, like, was it Sancho? Somebody was referencing might have to take 150 grand a week. He was saying, "Oh, really? You think he'll struggle to survive with 150 grand a week?" I mean, if it's your career we're talking about, you only get one career, you know, and it doesn't always last that long. There's not too many Ronaldos or Messis out there, so you know what I mean. If you have to take a pay cut in order to revive your career,
depends how much you're backing yourself to get back to the top level, or if you think you've peaked. And if you think in the back of your mind for a second that you might have peaked, you're gonna make sure that you rinse that contract dry, because you know they're not getting that money again. It's not happening. So
yeah,
I get it to a degree, but
some serious and interesting words he's gonna have with his agent in the next 6 to 8 weeks for sure. Let us know where you think Marcus Rashford ends up, the 27-year-old.
What a problem that is, eh?
I know.
Shall I take 150 grand?
Speaking of Newcastle, though, we're hearing that Liverpool are prepared to once again break the British transfer record to sign Newcastle and Sweden striker Alexander Isak this summer. Florian Wirtz is expected to arrive on Merseyside this evening to complete his £100 million move from Bayer Leverkusen. But going back to Isak, right, I still say that there's a 10% chance that Liverpool get him. But having spoke to Matty Renton, I'm going to do a bit of a leaked DM because he's been very staunch on his stance on this potential transfer. He said all along, 150 mil. There is no price tag. He's priceless. But if 150 mil comes, that's his price, right? And I'm just going to read out a couple of bits from what he said. Because, again, he's my Newcastle mouthpiece. He's where I get my information from. So big him up. So Liverpool are going to Newcastle in the second game of the season. We're going to speak about the Premier League transfers there. The fixture list there as well. And I'm going to the game with him. And he said, lucky me, I'll get to see Isak back at St. James's so soon. And I said, you've changed your tune. And he went, yeah, but you're not Arsenal. So maybe he just didn't want to sell to Arsenal. But he said, I said 150 mil, he's yours.
He's dangling the carrot.
If you're on it, bro, that's the price. He's
dangling the carrot.
And he said, exactly, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Losing him for that much, would accumulate 300 million for us to spend. And that's maybe the only positive. If we do spend that money, it frees them up with PSR and FFP to have £300 million to spend. He said we'd need a rebuild for a squad, Champions League, but he said he'd rather us take Gordon, but that's not going to happen. So if there is an inkling, and especially with Arsenal doing the rounds to try and get a striker, if I was Liverpool in this situation, which I'm not, but I'd wait for Arsenal to sign Sesko, so they've spent all their money, and then straight after that, 135 million offer on the table for Isak.
Jesus.
Right?
Can't compete with these guys.
Yeah, well, that's what we're moving.
Money.
Now. We're the best in the league. So slap that down, test the waters, see what they're saying. And then if they say no, you did want Jarrell Quansah, right? You wanted him? We can chuck him in.
Do you not have anyone for
Federico Chiesa, we could chuck him in.
What? Okay, now you're being silly.
Maybe. But that's only if they deny the first offer. But is it totally out of the question, Matisse? Is it totally out of the question that he leaves Newcastle this summer for Liverpool?
I like your 10%. I think there's a chance because...
So you can't rule it out?
No, because everybody has their price. Mm-hmm. And Liverpool haven't spent money in the previous window, so now they got all this money. And we don't know how much Nunes is going to sell for. And that might actually cover quite a lot of the Isak cost. I don't see...
Harvey, Quansah, you could cover the whole thing.
This is the thing. Like, net spend-wise, it doesn't have to be crazy for Liverpool if they make the right sales and they get the right money in. So, look, there's still a lot of the window left. I wouldn't rule it out, but you're going to have to pay another... You're going to have to break the British record again.
Yeah, that's
and if you do that, wow, I don't want to see no more... Oh, we can't compete with City. We can't compete with these clubs. They spend too much money. We're just humble little Liverpool trying to get along our way and just trying to bring through the J Spearings through the academies. Nah. We don't want to hear none of that.
And I'm cool to leave that behind, by the way.
Obvious favourites for the league and
100%.
Big spenders.
If Liverpool got Isak, league's done. In my opinion, would you agree?
What I would say is this: as much as it pains me to say it, your quote of 10% is probably higher than that, to be honest.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Because like Matisse says, every player has its price. So it may come down to how much you guys are prepared to pay for it.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying, we're not selling him, but then when you push them a little bit, the Newcastle fans, the price is 150. And
That's
I think
right.
if we did give them that,
Money talks. Man.
what the other side of it, if you're a Newcastle fan, is if you were to sell Isak, look at the FFP that clears you up to be able to spend 300 million. You could go and get Ekatike, you could go and get a winger, defender. You could almost spend all of that in the same window to give yourself the absolute best chance to compete in the Champions League, try and retain the League Cup, and go for the league title as well.
If we see Newcastle start moving for a striker,
The world should be scared.
then I'll be worried, because then it'll be like they're almost preparing. Because what you don't want to do is sell Isak for 150 or 135, and then everyone in the world knows you got all this money.
Yeah.
So what you try and do is probably bring in, 40 million striker there.
And from what I can
then you start-
understand,
If they
I've
do
never
that,
heard,
then
I've
boy,
never heard
yeah,
I know
Isak
what's happening
Yeah,
after
then
that.
you can kind of tell what's going
Then
on
that
behind the
10%
scenes.
goes to 80.
with Isak as well in terms of how he's handled all this. He's always said, "I'm happy." Now that is a bit of an ambiguous term, isn't it? Because yes, I'm happy, but he didn't say that he would stay at Newcastle above.
Well, I think-
some players are made it categorically clear, I do not want to leave.
According
He's
to
not
Matty
said-
Renton, he literally did say, "I'm not leaving," to Matty Renton himself at Box
Well,
Park
that doesn't
after.
mean anything.
But they've had a few drinks. It's all a bit silly.
Exactly, yeah.
It's 2 in the morning.
I think he'd be fine.
What context? You need to frame that. I mean, was it?
Drinks.
Oh, you're
Well,
not
we'll have to
leaving
get
us?
Matty on the
And it
show.
was he met him after the Carabao Cup win.
Yeah, he had
so
the trophy
come
in
on,
his
that
hand.
ain't the time to be asking questions like
But
that.
publicly, what
No, he
he
said
has
he's going to
said.
steer. He said he's going to steer. That's
After
it.
winning the
Publicly,
trophy, he's not
the
gonna say anything
statements
else.
that I've seen suggested that I'm very happy here. Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
might be.
I'm sure.
But
I'm
yeah,
sure he
not
is.
even
I'm
happy.
sure he is. Honestly, I
I'm sure
believe
he
he
is,
is.
but that
he
doesn't
loves
mean
them
to
and
say
Can't be
love
happier
him.
somewhere else.
By extension, that
Grass
doesn't
might
mean to
be
say
greener.
you could be happier somewhere else.
Yeah,
Like you said.
I
So-
think he'd be fine to do a year with Newcastle in the Champions League
Then
if he
they'd let
had
him
to.
go with
But he
grace.
wants to win titles, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So
Alex Isak. Ooh, if Liverpool get that one over the line, I will become totally, even more unbearable than I already am.
No, I don't think that's possible.
It's not possible. Totally not possible. It's definitely not. But 150 mil, how realistic? Let's get some percentages in the chat right now. I want to see
I think it's higher
some
than 10.
percentages.
I think it's higher than 10.
I mean, I said this for Wirtz, didn't I? Wirtz.
Yes.
I said there's absolutely no chance. So I once again think that there is a very small chance at Liverpool
God grief.
get Isak.
What
if
are we
you-
going to
if
do
you
with
catch
that?
my drift.
Seriously.
In the chat, we've got 1%, 2%, 30%, 10%, 0, 0.000000001, like Matisse loves. Pratish says 40. We've got a 5%, 0 point sausage percent, says Maury. It's a good one. 15%, 50%, 70%. And the thing is that Liverpool fans are being encouraged by is the top tier journalists at Liverpool who report on Liverpool. Not one of them has ruled it out. And normally, straight away, when Liverpool are linked with a player, one of the top journalists will do his due diligence and say, that's not happening. You can rule that one out. But I'm hearing, the likes of James Pearce and others, Lewis Steele, saying that this is Liverpool's dream signing. So are Liverpool playing the long game and waiting a bit for all these pre-season games to almost disappear? And then later on in the window, you go in for him? Who knows? But I'm sticking with 10%.
I think they'll
I
definitely
will.
test the waters.
Where is
That's
Nunes?
Why
the least,
wouldn't
that's
they?
the least I
Why
could
would-
ask
yeah,
for.
why wouldn't
Because
they?
that shows your intent
Exactly.
at least. Test the waters.
Yeah.
Where is
Well-
Nunes going to go, and how much money are you going to get for him?
At the minute, it's looking like around 50 mil from either Napoli, AC Milan, or if it's the Saudis, 75
Saudi tax.
Saudi tax.
Mm.
But
And
then
what- and-
Quanta's 50. We want 40 to 50 for him. Elliot would be 40 to 50. You could probably sell
You're not
Chiesa
getting
for
40
20.
to 50 million for Elliot. What did
Well,
you
that's what
say?
we
How
want.
much did you say for Kwanzaa?
40 is the asking price that Liverpool
Lord
want.
heavens, where are these fees?
Well, he's a Premier League champion. He's English.
Who
he's
cares
young.
if he's a Premier League champion?
No, but
Brewster's a
take-
Champions League winner as
take-
well.
All right, take the name Jarrell Quansah away. If someone just showed you a piece of paper that went Liverpool centre back, played X amount of games, Premier League winner, young, you go, well, that's English tax. That's a 50 mil player.
Nah,
With
Who's
his
going to
age.
pay that, though?
no
really?
one's paying
Well,
that.
Newcastle
The
want
clubs
him.
that he's,
Bayer
Yeah, but they're
Leverkusen
not going
want
to
him.
pay that.
they're not going to pay that.
All right, well, this is where Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, they earn their money.
Mm.
We sold Ryan Brewster for 25 million, mate. We sold Sepp Vandenberg for 20 mil to Brentford last year.
Christ.
We are very good at selling for a big profit.
And who would come in for Elliot? Fulham.
Oh, any club. Everyone wants him.
No,
I heard
not
Aston
every
Villa yesterday.
Hmm.
Leverkusen wanted him as well. There's loads of clubs that would be interested in Harvey. But the thing is, he's a massive Liverpool fan. He doesn't want to leave. He's desperate.
Do you want him to stay? Okay, so let me ask you this. If you could get Isak and part of that money comes from Elliot, are you keeping Elliot or are you letting Elliot go?
Now, you know I love Harvey.
Yeah, I do. And that's why I'm asking you. Because you said, no, he has to stay. Everything's fine.
So what would the deal look like?
The deal looks like 50,
Present it to me. Pitch me.
50 million for Elliot.
Yeah.
And obviously you're going to get the 50 for Nunes, which is now 100.
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, let's take your 40. I'm going to bring it down to 30 just to be a bit
Realism.
more reasonable. That's 130. Would you do all of that? Get rid of your Liverpool boy to get Isak. That's 130. Now you just got to slap on an extra 5 million. That's nothing.
Now, I love Harvey Elliott, but I would go all in. Yep. I would take that deal.
Fine,
I would take that deal.
Fine.
I would. I'll
Elliot,
be
if you're
honest.
listening, this is what he's on.
Elliot, if you're listening, bro, you know I love you. You know I respect you.
We're trying to hear that. We're not trying to hear that.
Listen, we'll move on. But Bayer Leverkusen do still remain in talks with Liverpool over a potential deal for Gerald Quansah. But if he is used as a make weight, and if I was Quansah, I'd go to Newcastle. Right? Fulham have rejected a £26 million offer with a further £6 million in add-ons from newly promoted Leeds for Rodrigo Muniz. That's a good. It's a good scout from Leeds. I think they want and need a striker who has that Premier League experience. Leeds is actually one of the most interesting transfer windows I think we're going to see this summer because they've got so much dead weight to get rid of, Championship level players.
Yeah.
And they have a few quid.
Yeah.
And they are going to be throwing money at the likes of an established Fulham striker, Muniz. They might look to get a Tsimikas in, or I'm quite excited to see
They're
the
gonna go
business
down
that
the-
Leeds go.
Go down the
and do
Nottingham
this
Forest route when they came
Potentially.
up and signed like 13 players and just go.
They
Well,
might
over
be
2
best
years,
served
that
though
works.
to
Yeah.
target that money on someone that can get goals, because what we've seen is exactly
Who
that.
would you go for if you're a Leeds fan? Because
Yeah,
you need
that-
a striker.
Muniz
Muniz?
kind of
Yeah?
fits the
I
bill.
do
Somebody
like that.
can, because
Feels like a
the,
Leeds
the
striker.
trouble that these teams coming up are going to have is scoring goals. All the promoted teams that come up, they're always struggling in that department because let's face it, the guys that would have been playing for them before have not been at that level. So, you know, if you're going to win games and you've got to win games in the Premiership to stay up, you need somebody that's going to score goals. So rather than just spend money liberally across the team, buy all these players, I would say a targeted approach is more necessary where you fixate on a striker, get him in there, bang.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, any Leeds fans? James Toon, are you watching? Who are Leeds scouting this summer? Who would they like to bring into the club? And what money is available? Because if it's a 26 mil offer with 6 mil in add-ons, they've got a few quid. But if I was Rodrigo Muniz, yes, the Leeds fans would absolutely adore him if he starts well and gets a few goals. But if you're at Fulham, would you accept that? You know, you're pushing on for European football at Fulham. I can't see it personally. But if not him, who else should Leeds be looking at in the Premier League? Let us know. Next up, Nico Williams to Barca. They've agreed personal terms on a 6-year deal. The agreement sealed on the player's contract until June 31. With the salary in the region of 7 to 8 million euros net per season, Barca are currently working on financial terms to get the deal done. That's The Athletic. When have we not heard that Barca are working on financial terms? They mix and move and bring in and sell. And, you know, I heard yesterday through Raul, and he said this, didn't he? He said that Barcelona, he allegedly said, this isn't my words, he said they pay Fabrizio Romano near enough €500,000 a year to kind of put the wheels in motion and send a few tweets out.
Yeah,
Allegedly, I said that. I covered
allegedly.
myself. And I when I see tweets saying from Deco, right, who's the director of football there, saying, "Oh yeah, we love Luis Diaz, we love Nico Williams, but I'm not going to talk about them. They're not our players." And then Fabrizio tweets that. I'm like, "Come on, guys, it's obvious, right?"
Barcelona have always been like that, though.
Oh, one wonders where they're getting their money from. I mean, we was hearing a few months
Spotify
ago that
subscriptions.
they were
Can they
struggling
register the
financially.
player? Nico Williams, before he signs that contract, can they register him? Because when it was Dani Olmo, they had him sitting on the
Remember
sidelines
Frankie
for
de
6
Jong
months.
as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't he owed like 30 mil?
I don't know.
wages
Maybe he
still?
just waved it off because he loves the club so much. This is the thing. This is when you know you got history and heritage. These players are willing to go there. Rafinha did the same thing. They're willing to drastically cut their wage demands. They don't even know if they're getting registered, and they're still joining. You have
Just
to
because it's
respect. You have
Barcelona.
to respect. You have to respect the pool.
You do. So let us know. Nico Williams, 6-year deal as an Arsenal fan. Would he have been your number one target in terms of a new left
He
winger?
was one of the foremost targets.
Right.
But I wasn't surprised to see him go to Barcelona. Apparently him and Yamal very close, and there is that talk that you always hear about with the Spanish league. They do their utmost best to try and keep the players in that league. So maybe that is why Barcelona was able to sign him, because machinations were done behind the scenes to allow that to happen. So I wasn't surprised at that, to be honest. I didn't really think we were getting Williams. I don't think we'll get Rodrigo either. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Where does he fit though? Because they got Rafinha, Yamal, Lewandowski up front. That's the front three. Rafinha's just done over 50 G&A in a season. He's going for Ballon d'Or. Yamal, brilliant season, same thing. I don't know where he must be going as maybe as a squad player, maybe off the bench. Because he can't start.
He didn't have the best season last season, did he?
Not really. Numbers wise, he never does.
He
but he's not starting over the captain, who just did the 50 G&A season. He's not starting over Yamal. So it's interesting. Bayern Munich were guaranteed to give him starting minutes. Arsenal would give him starting minutes. So that's how I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. Because
still only 22, right? And he has played at Athletic Club Bilbao for some time now, right? He was
Spanish international.
Yeah, Spanish international, 28 caps, 6 goals. Started off at Pamplona, went to Osasuna, which is actually the nearest kind of big team to Pamplona. I've been there, stayed there for a few weeks, a Spanish exchange trip. And then he went to Athletic Bilbao in 2013 as a real youngster. And obviously has played how many games now? 132 league games. It actually says on his Wikipedia here that he's already moved to Barcelona. It says Barcelona,
he's changed it
0
himself.
goals.
He's changed it himself.
Maybe Fabrizio has done that as well.
The guys in the chat are saying Rafinha in the 10 and Williams on the left, so Dani Olmo just take him out completely. That is actually fire.
And then who behind them? De Jong and Pedri or Gavi?
Yeah. Because Rafinha is more of a goal scorer now, isn't he? So he's just running off Lewandowski, who's doing the hold up. Wait,
late runs into the box.
Hey, Real Madrid, I'm not sure, man.
Yeah.
You better sign some more players.
And that'll be Trent up against Nico Williams as well.
Another young, exciting, lively, quick player that Barcelona are known for at the moment. So,
you know what Barca should be? You know what Barca need? They need Isak to replace Lewandowski when he's done. Hey, Barca, help us out in the Prem. Go fit Isak.
Go get Jackson.
Go
get Liam Delap.
No.
Because I'm sick and tired of you saying you scouted and throwing my players into the transfer window.
Isak would be perfect at Barcelona.
He's not even my player yet.
Right? He'd be look at the way you defended him. He's not even your player. He would be perfect at Barcelona to spearhead that attack. So let's get the wheels in motion.
Do you know what I was going to say there? Because if, let's say for a hypothetical, and I still don't think he moves to Liverpool, but let's say he does at 25, 26, stays for 3 or 4 years to 29. I was going to say, he'll be too old to be Barca's main man there. But look at Lewandowski. Look what age he joined them. Yeah. And he is still piling in the goals.
Yeah.
Wow. Honestly, like...
Not for Poland, though.
Not for Poland. He's fallen out with the manager, hasn't he? But yeah, let us know what you think. Nico Williams to Barca. According to Wiki, it's already been done. Right, Premier League fixtures. Listen, we all play 2 teams across the season. Does the order of the fixtures matter? And after that, we'll try and work out who's got the hardest run. But it is Manchester United versus Arsenal on the opening weekend, Matisse.
Buzzing. Can't wait.
Instant drama.
Yeah, can't wait. The 2 biggest social media clubs in England going head to head. Man United under
social
a lot
media
of pressure.
derby, is it?
Yeah, a lot of pressure. Man United after the disgusting season they had last year. The manager's under pressure. The playing squad are under pressure. Owners are under pressure to deliver signings this summer. They're gonna have some new players in there, and they're at home, so they're gonna want to get a result, not lose that first game, you know. And Arsenal, of course, regardless of how the window goes, they need to win a title, or Arteta needs to win a title, or he's going to be in trouble. And you've got quite a...
You say that, but we, as Arsenal fans, we've been discussing that a lot recently. I get why people say that you'll be in trouble, but I don't think he will, to be honest.
Okay, he might not be in trouble.
He may be in trouble with the fans,
he won't be in trouble with the
board.
Cronkies. I agree with you. It depends on the context of how the season's gone. But I think with the fans, in phase 69, you know what I mean? He'll be in trouble now. You know what I mean? If you don't win a major. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a great start. I do think the fixtures, does it matter? I personally would prefer a light start.
I'll tell you what I would say about the start. Number one, I do think, without a doubt, I know people have said you guys, but we have the hardest start, certainly in the first 6 games.
Not according to Opta.
I know, Opta. But
Opta said what, Man United?
Man United, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Everton, then Liverpool.
I don't know how they crunch the numbers, but for me, those first 6 games, Man United away, Leeds at home, Liverpool away, Forest at home, Man City at home, then Newcastle away. Those are all
Arsenal.
very onerous fixtures. What I would say about, in response to what you said, is that you cannot win the title in the first 6 games, but you could certainly lose it. Meaning that if you come out of those 6 games and you've dropped a hell of a load of points, it's so hard to recover it that it could be over before it started. Yeah. Whereas you could still win the majority of those games, like what we did last season. I think we won 6 of our first 7. And then, things fall away. So that is a very, very difficult start. But yeah, obviously, as Alex says, you've got to play every team twice, so it shouldn't really matter. But in reality, it does matter.
I definitely prefer a easier start and then try and build up some confidence and momentum, especially because you've got new signings coming in. They got to,
hopefully
they got to sort themselves out. Coming off the back of a Club World Cup year we have as well. So,
and I'll tell you why else that matters as well. And this is a point I was making on another show. Injuries, they won't tend to happen in the first 6-10 games. Your injuries will tend to happen as players get there's more wear and tear on the body. Weather conditions change. So round about October, November, December, January, that's when the hamstrings and all that type of stuff starts kicking in. So, yeah. It's important to get off to a good start. Man.
According to Opta, based on the Opta team ratings out of 100, it's Manchester United with the hardest first 5 games. The opponent average rating that United will be facing in their first 5 games is 94.6, Arsenal 94.0, Bournemouth 93.7, Everton 93.4, and Liverpool 93.3.
But do they factor into that aspirations? So, for example, Arsenal and Liverpool, their aspirations, without wishing to sound snobbish, are way
they won't
higher
count that
than the likes of Man United.
Yeah,
and
I don't think they do.
With us, if we don't win the title next season, that will be seen by a large population as failure. Likewise,
I'd
Liverpool.
agree.
With United, what are people expecting from them? I mean, they finished
Top
15th. So if they finish 9th or 10th or, God forbid, a little bit higher than that, they're, we're improving. With Arsenal, if we don't win the title, that would be like 4 years in a row, finishing 2nd or 3rd. Or that will be seen as unacceptable.
It would. And Aston Villa's first 5 games has been ranked the easiest alongside Crystal Palace. And Chelsea are the 6th easiest with Crystal Palace, West Ham away, Fulham, Brentford and Man United away.
You don't want it to be too easy.
Game.
You don't want it to be too easy because then it's going to make it difficult later on. But
I really like our first fixture, Friday night, 8 o'clock at Anfield in the sunshine, Bournemouth at home.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
But then the second game is Newcastle away. Well, it is lovely. It's the feeling, the atmosphere is going to be incredible.
You're saying it's going to be sunshine in Liverpool.
Well, maybe,
so you're trying to pull up to the second game with Isak up front against the club.
Against his
When's the deadline day and that fixture
I think there would be 8 days after that game until the window shuts. Imagine if he plays for them against us and then we buy him. Oh wow. But yeah, Newcastle away, then Arsenal at home, Burnley away. Newly promoted teams never easy away, but then it's the Merseyside derby 5 games into the season. That is a difficult start. I'm sorry, that is a difficult start. But look at Arsenal, United away, Leeds at home, Liverpool away, Forest at home, City at home. A few home games there, but there's so many stipulations and criteria that you have to meet for these fixtures to be spread out on a fixture list, and everyone's happy with them.
Do you know what it is for me as well? Why I don't really react to fixtures is you don't know who is signing, leaving at this point. The squads, you don't know the final squads. You also don't know about injuries. You don't know about suspensions. You got to bring the European competitions into that. The fixtures pile up. The way that looks. So for me,
but if you're
Premier League is so unpredictable anyway.
In those first 6 games, you're playing 3 out of those.
Oh, I agree. Yours is
top
terrible.
5.
Yeah, yours is horrendous.
That's quite brutal. Man. That is quite.
For most of us, it's not too much to look into.
And in any walk of life, you want to ease your way into something. You don't. If you're
you're in phase 5 of your project. You better just.
You've been easing.
Yeah, man.
The easing is over now. You have to. Up. If I was Arsenal, I'd be saying, right, let's go to United first day of the season and make a statement, smash them up.
That game's got draw written all over it.
You don't have a good record there, do you?
We don't.
Really?
And I'll tell you why as well. Because United will be so desperate not to lose. We will be so desperate not to lose.
You're right.
We'll have a drawing record there. I can see that game being a draw.
And on the other hand, for United, it's Arsenal at home, Fulham away, Burnley at home, City away, Chelsea at home. Let's just say, for example, out of those first 5, let's stretch it to 10 games. Let's say he loses 5 of them. Time to go? If you don't get off to a good start after they backed you in Ruben Amorim.
If he
starts really badly, There could
No,
be-
I think
Really?
no, I think the United fans seem to be behind him,
What do you
and the
think?
board are definitely
I don't
behind
know.
him.
I don't know. I think tide could turn quite quickly.
Let's say he loses 6 out of the first 10.
I think if he does that, they'll be onto him.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
if he loses that, then
They'll be
fine,
onto him.
yeah.
But that's pretty much his record.
I don't know.
It's
I,
his
see, the
record at
thing is,
minute.
because this is a new ownership or a new minority stakeholder, whatever it is, but we don't know how they are with managers in terms of how much time they give them, how ruthless they are, what they see this as in terms of, is it a long-term appointment or is it something that they expected instant results? I don't know. So I can't really gauge how they're going to respond to adversity. But what I will say is, if he loses them six out of 10, like you just said, that fan base is going to be onto him because they're already, I think, uneasy with the way they've been playing, and rightly so, because look at the position they're in. I think the quality of that squad does not mirror where they are. I'm not saying it's a good squad in terms of the balance, but it should not be finishing in 15th. So
Somehow, I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were.
and remember, they've only got one game a week. So their
There is no
excuses,
excuses.
bro, you got a
No
whole week to
excuses.
train with those players and to coach them. You got to deliver something respectable. You can't be losing 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, let us know in the chat. Who do you support firstly? But then how has your team fared, if I can call it that, in the Premier League fixture announcement list that came out yesterday? There's a few leaks going around of incorrect fixture leaks the night before, but we've got it now. You can start planning your holidays and trips to the games. However, though, do understand that I would say at least 50% of these games are subject to change.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for example, right, Liverpool play Newcastle on the Saturday 23rd of August, and it's scheduled in for 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That is not happening. It will be Sunday 2 o'clock, Sunday 4:30, or Saturday 5:30. I think.
Yeah.
If I may, though, I'd like to have the right to reply on something my boy Matisse said when he was teasing us about our consecutive second place finishes. Do you know that the last time Arsenal
Yeah.
finished second 3 consecutive years, that was back in 1998-99.
Oh.
The 4th time of
Double.
asking, we won the title. So that is an omen that is worth
This sounds
taking.
like something Ty would say.
Or would just
No,
know
but that
it.
is facts.
And does that,
That
mean
is
anything
facts.
to me? No, it doesn't. it
absolutely nothing.
doesn't mean a
This
single thing.
may be something that we may well revisit.
Well, do you know what?
that
If-
I told you.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Let me say this. If Liverpool sign Isak, I
If-
want you to come with that
if.
same energy after that signing, because I just have a feeling that if that happens, no matter who you guys bring in, you're not going to be thinking
But
you
the
know
same
what?
way about the
But
the
according
whole
to
title
Laurie,
race
Arsenal are a
situation.
bigger football club than Liverpool. So what's he got to worry about?
Hey,
That's his opinion.
Leeds are
Listen,
bigger
if they
than,
sign
Leeds are bigger
Isak,
than Bournemouth.
now
and
what
they
I
just
would
got
say,
back into the Prem.
where I would give you some credit, if they do sign Isak, then yeah, our chances of signing the title
Diminish.
are drastically
Especially
diminished.
because you guys really wanted him 14.
But nevertheless,
all
that stat
stuff.
I just gave you is a fact. Last
Hey,
time we
I love
finished
facts.
second in 3 consecutive seasons, at the 4th time of asking, we won the title.
I love facts.
Okay. Well,
So I thought I'd throw that one in there
enjoy
in
that.
response to you.
Enjoy that. It's a good title, that.
I feel even more confident. Not going to do anything.
And
now,
on
you
the
know.
back of that, Ty's parents gets in touch, says, bada bing, bada boom, Laurie is the biggest pussy hole in the room.
That is
Yeah, why are you
which is a
reading
bit
Why are you
crazy.
reading that?
Because that guy that said that to you, I guarantee he wouldn't say that to
cracking
my
up now.
face.
He's
No, of
laughing
course
his
I
head off.
guarantee that guy there, I'm saying it now.
Oh, go on.
Come holler at me. You will not,
Ty's
if you see
parents.
me, you will not say that to my face.
100%.
So why are you reading that, bro?
Exactly.
Because,
Let him, this is his Cat
Yeah.
Williams moment. When I walk in the room, heads go down. Yeah?
I'm not saying I agree with him.
And the reason why I say
just
that
the
with so
right
much
bit of
confidence as well is
rhyming,
that nobody has
probably.
ever run up on me and said anything like that. I get bare love. So
You've never
that
had your
guy
phone
there,
snatched by a moped.
Huh?
You've never had your phone snatched by a moped.
Never.
See? That's a
No,
real,
No one
couldn't
ain't
do
pulling
that.
up on
Couldn't
me.
do
That's
that.
real Londoner.
Someone says I would, but anyway, moving
well,
on. Ayo Bed says
I'm about.
Chelsea. Yeah, you know the
Man said
studio.
I'm outside.
Man's
I'm
there.
outside.
Covered
We're
you.
outside, bro.
Bad man. Yeah, Chelsea versus Newcastle 2 years ago in Atalanta had 70,000 people there. Yeah, great numbers to be fair, which is obviously a little bit more in some cases than the current Club World Cup. City versus Madrid. If one of them doesn't top the group, blue and white says that. Pratish says, Laurie, this is a good one. Laurie, start, sub, sell, Wright, Bergkamp and Overmars. I think you're definitely selling Overmars, aren't you?
Wait, say that
If
again?
I was
start,
gonna sell.
start sub sell, Wright, Bergkamp and Overmars.
Oh.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So I know
I'm
you're
I'm a big fan of all of those. But I mean, you know, Overmars might be the one that might have to, you know what I mean? But that's a bit of an unfair question, to be honest, because I rate all of those guys highly. All of them are legends, really. So,
Me personally, I'd start right. Oh, can you bench Bergkamp though? It's tight. It's
I didn't
late.
get to watch Wright too much.
Yeah.
I just saw clips.
I'd probably do it in that order. Right, Bergkamp over Mars. Just.
right, but yeah, that would be the order. But,
Bergkamp's
that is not
Bergkamp's
to
the
do,
best player for me in
Yeah.
that three.
in terms of talent or
Yeah,
in
I
terms
think
of
in terms of
impact.
talent. From what I've seen.
Right here with his
clips.
goal scoring record.
But as like a footballer, you probably
As a
say
footballer, I'd probably
Bergkamp
edge
is the-
Bergkamp. I
yeah.
mean, his natural ability
I would
was,
as well.
his
Yeah,
technical
just
ability was on
stupid
another
technique.
level.
Technique.
Some of the
Overmars
goals-
was probably the quickest of those three in terms
Yeah,
of
he was
speed.
definitely
He
rapid.
was rapid.
Do you remember that goal at, was it the Dell? Southampton, didn't Bergkamp score a hat-trick where he brings it down over him and then just whips it in the far corner, and even he is like shocked that he's...
Yeah,
honestly,
amazing
what
player.
a player.
I remember
He was an absolute joy to
the
watch,
game
if
when
I'm
he
honest.
scored in his debut, because you remember, I know we're going back a bit now, but
No, we can go there.
when Bergkamp first came to the club, he'd been misfiring.
He was,
This is what I say about writing off people like Trent. Anyway, he come to the club, he hadn't been doing it. One or two fans were saying, yo, man, is this going to happen or not? And I remember, it's against Southampton at home. I got into the ground late. No sooner as I took up my seat or where I was supposed to be standing, bang, Bergkamp scores. His career took
96?
off after that. Yeah, somewhere like that, yeah.
96, 7.
Yeah, I remember it well because it's one of the few games where I actually arrived in the ground late and then bang. And then
Oh, that
ever
one.
since that game, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Yep. One good season is not enough to justify paying Partey over 200k on a 2-year contract. He is one of the highest paid players at Arsenal, and
He's been
on
there
a
4 years, I think
chunky
it was.
contract.
Cost us, about 40 odd grand. Sorry, 40
cheap.
million.
million,
When he came to club with much fanfare, and there was some disappointments, certainly with his injuries and stuff. But he had a great season last season. If not a really good season. Do you really want to cast him aside now?
I think he's had better seasons.
I think it's the stumbling block is the wages though for a 32-year-old, I'd say. And it's not like a Virgil or a Salah where you go, they're worth it, captain.
Physically, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's probably best for all parties to move on. If
Really?
you pardon the pun.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans would
I don't know.
disagree with you on that. Certainly the ones I've spoken to say they want him to stay.
What do you think?
I'd do it 1 year.
1 year?
One year.
I'd give him 2 years.
I'd go 1 year if I'm honest. We got the Mudryk charges before the 115 charges, says Juno. What is your reaction to that, by the way? Could face up to a 4-year doping ban.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already was expecting it. I was just kind of waiting for the announcement because if it was all honky dory, then where was the clearance and the announcement of it was a negative test and he would be back on the pitch months ago? So from the moment that it was dragging on, it was meant to be a month until the announcement or the results. It didn't turn into 5 months. It was just a matter of when, not if. So, look, it's a shame. I don't understand the details of what's actually happened, how it's got into his system. They're not really telling us too much about the situation. All I know is now we need to sign 2 wingers on that flank because obviously Sancho's gone back to Man United. We don't have him, so we need two left wingers, and that's it. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't really a massive fan of his anyway on the pitch. Didn't really think he was that special. Didn't think he was worth the money.
You coveted him when you thought he was coming to us.
Yes, and I didn't like that. And I actually sat on this very table and I said, what are we doing? Because I'm not understanding why we've gone and dashed 62 million at a player that's still very raw. Yes, he's got maybe potential and, all that, but he's a 35 million pound player. And I said that from the jump. So for me, he was not a starter anyway. We needed a new left winger anyway. So now we just need 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing potentially who we get. But yeah, it's a shame. 4 years, you can't keep someone for 4 years making the money he's probably making. You got to terminate that. Unless it's like a year, 18 month, maybe you can see that out. 4 years is ridiculous. You have to.
It's a long
I
time.
think it was meldonium that was found in his system. Meldonium, by the way, is a performance-enhancing drug that
Didn't work.
quite a few Eastern European athletes have been caught using. I say that because, as you know, I'm a big follower of boxing.
Yeah.
And quite a few Ukrainian and Russian fighters from the old Eastern Bloc have been caught using that because previously meldonium was legal. They changed the rules. And apparently it's a drug that's quite popular in that part of the world.
Brian says, Matisse, how is that 100 mil for Mudryk feel like now? And he still has 2 years left after that ban with those Suge Knight contracts you were handing out. Do you regret that now,
It was 62
Mr. Sir?
plus add-ons, which we won't be paying because clearly we've not achieved anything. So that was a bit of an inflation on the fee, but
Is he not a Conference League winner? Would he have got
that
a
is
medal?
not gonna
No,
be
no.
one of the add-ons.
I know.
Has he got to be one of the biggest flops ever in the Premier League?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be one of with Lukaku and with Kepa.
Nah, come on, Lukaku's.
No, for us, Lukaku 100 million and trying to go back to
right,
Inter Milan
okay.
after 3 months. But yeah,
But at least you got some sell on with him, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we got some money back. But Shakhtar CEO was saying Ballon d'Or contender. So whatever add-ons were in there, it had nothing to do with no Conference League. I can tell you that for free.
Spurs fans are hypocrites. You can't demand loyalty and then tell a man who showed the greatest loyalty to leave after a pre-season tour when you've got the money. Son deserves a better fan base, says De Ricci. JQ says Nunes 50 mil, Jota 25, Robertson 15. Last season Champions League prize money 83 million. That's how they can afford Isak. Neezy B says, I don't believe anything Romano says about Barcelona anymore. Clear propaganda. Yamal stories all the time. Wait for Ornstein. Yeah, that's about right. I'd say I agree with that. Liverpool posted the dates they're facing United. We actually go away to United on May the 2nd, the 35th game.
Wow.
Could we either be getting a guard of honour or win it at Old Trafford? Who knows? We'll find out. What a horrible top Matisse has on. Kaiser Chiefs is the Arsenal of South Africa. Delusional fan base with nothing to back it up on the field. Go and find God, says Saint Blanco. Dan B says, Laurie says he's unbiased, but if Arsenal lost a game of rock, paper, scissors, he'd blame it on VAR and say that Arteta was playing mind games.
My response to that is that if you know me well, you know that I'm not given to making excuses. In fact, I get called out by my own fan base for sometimes being too honest about things because I don't cap. I call it like I see it.
And Kinya then says, Uncle Laurie and the omen again. Bless you, Arsenal fans. I remember how the Pope's death was an omen for the Champions League. How did that go? You never walk alone.
This is a bit more than an omen. This is actual facts, by the way.
So was the Pope one, though, wasn't it? But anyway, just quickly before we go, PFA Young Player of the Year includes Milos Kerkez. It includes Liam Delap as well. Do you think that was fair? 6 players that they've chosen.
What was this for, sorry?
The PFA Young Player of the Year.
Miles Lewis-Skelly.
He's in there.
Yeah, Lewis Skelly would have been a shout for sure. I've not really ever agreed with the age cut-off point. What is it, 23?
22 at the start of the season.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's Liam Delap, Dean Hoyson, Milos Kerkez, Morgan Rogers, Wanyeri and Lewis Skelly for the Young Player of the Year. That's the top 6 for the PFA Awards. And the winner will be revealed in the next few weeks.
I think Miles Lewis-Skelly has a case.
I would prefer that, yeah, like, for me,
you've got to
Lewis
look at
Skelly's
Dean
actually
Howson, though.
really young. What is he? He's a teenager, isn't he?
Yeah, 18.
So 18. So that's like a real young player of the year for me.
I
Like,
mean, when
he's
you
a
think
proper
about Miles
breakout.
Lewis-Skelly, obviously he's also a bit biased, yes, of course, but came into the team through injuries, managed to displace new signings like Calafiore, established players like Zinchenko. And when you consider on top of that as well that he's not even a left-back by trade, he's a midfielder that was put in that position to cover for injuries. Got in the England team, scored on his debut. I mean, come on, man. That's,
Yeah.
He's got to have a case.
I think it's between him and Dean Howson just because of the fact that after this short stint in the Prem,
He's gone to Real Madrid.
And it was his debut last
and
night
Lewis
as well,
Skelly,
by the way.
finished higher than all of those men as well in the league. No, he did. That's
He's
right.
playing under more pressure as well. I have to say.
So,
like,
you know
when
what?
you look at
I'm going. The more I think
Do you know
about
what? I
it,
might go Lewis Skelly.
Lewis Skelly's
for it
playing
as well.
under the microscope.
and when you
more.
throw in the England thing as well,
Yeah.
18, man. I mean,
Maybe the
that's-
thing that
he's-
might cause him not to win that is the discipline, the red cards, that kind of
Yeah.
aspect of it as well. Whereas Hoyson, I don't think got sent off. So I would give it to Miles Lewis Skelly. But who do you think it should go to in the chat? Do let us know. And that's the end of the show. Any more super chats? One. Start, bench, sell. Son, Joe Cole and Nani. EPL legacy. All right. We'll start Joe Cole. We'll bench
I really rated
Son
Joe
and
Cole.
sell
actually.
Nani, I think.
I really rated Joe Cole.
Yeah,
By the
I
way,
agree
Joe
with
Cole
Josh.
is an excellent pundit as well.
I
I
really
enjoy
like him.
listening
No,
to
I
him.
I've interviewed him a
Joe
few
Cole,
times.
So,
Big
big
up
up
BR
Joe Cole.
Sports, actually, and he's
Yeah,
been a great
man.
guest.
He's always impressed me.
He's a great
Joe
guest.
Cole's such a baller, man.
Yeah, but as a player, he
The
was
original
fantastic.
baller, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably underachieved a little bit in terms of.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. The injuries.
Yeah.
So, him and Essien, the injuries, man, just ruined it.
But from what I understand, and listen, don't shoot the messenger. I heard that he wasn't the greatest of trainers.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Discipline and stuff.
Bit of a maverick, wasn't he?
Yeah. In terms of natural talent.
Great to have a pint with, though, I'll tell you that.
I can imagine.
So I had one with him for DR Sports. But anyway, smash that like button, guys. Get your comments in. We'll be back at 5 o'clock for another Live at 5 transfer news show with myself and James B. Looking forward to that. Matisse.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Laurie.
Thank you.
Big up, as always, giving us that Arsenal view on things. As always, it's a pleasure. Right, guys, smash that like button. We'll see you at 5 o'clock. All the best.